Did you know, on average, 15,000 horses are killed every year from steeplechase? But the terrible thing is 10,700 of these don't even make it to the start gates. Steeplechase, aka jumps racing, is a highly dangerous sport that makes horses run at high speeds while attempting to accurately jump high obstacles. This is just one reason why I believe jumps racing should be banned in South Australia and Victoria. Jumps racing was created in 1752 in Ireland by two kids who would jump from A to B, one church to another, and jump anything in their way. In 250 years, a lot has changed. This sport didn't start in Australia till 1830s, and protests began against this type of sport in 1848. Since then, every state in the country, apart from South Australia and Victoria, have banned the sport for many reasons, like horse welfare, rules and regulations around it, and rider welfare. For my first point, I would like to pull up the most important part of racing, and that is the horse's welfare, which clearly seems to be ignored, as around 10,700 of these athletes get sent to the knackery and made into dog food and other materials. The other odd 4,000 horses are raced around the world until they are retired, injured, or die. The deaths on the track last year in Australia were 125. Although this is small, the injured make up a much bigger number, as 7/8 of these are killed, as their injuries can't be cured or helped in any way. Some horses may be found as not the winning type, and these are transferred to flat racing or other duties, knackeries, and of course, those that are saved are attempted to be retrained for other disciplines, because in this situation you have to be able to teach an old dog new tricks. My next point is the rules and regulations of the race. The race itself has drastically changed, from the original jump anything from point A to point B to running in circles at over 1.25 meter jumps. The old jumps were a lot safer, made out of flexible wood and fenced with brushes. The new jumps, however, they still have the flexible brush, but the base is made out of metal surrounded by rubber. This means that instead of hitting the flexible wood, you just run it and having a slight chance of a crush. The horse crashes every time, which has increased the injury levels a lot higher. In 2010, there was a set of rules that needed to be met at the end of the racing season. These were called Key Performance Indicators, KPIs, and they were the reduction of fall rate from 5 to 3% of starters, the reduction of on-track death rate from half to 0.6% of starters, and the increased race participation. 80% of races must not have less than 8 horses in a single race. And despite these points, only 1 out of 3 were met at the end of 2010. And yet, jumps racing is still running strong into 2015 race season. What is the worst part is that in 2011, the Liberal government pumped $2 million worth of funding into the sport, despite 87% of the race fans saying they wanted it banned. Seriously, what has become of our society and the thoughts towards entertainment? Oh, let's just pump some more money into it, see how many we can kill off. My last point to be made is all about the rider's welfare. Every time a rider falls off a horse, you can trust me when I say it hurts. Even if it's small, it hurts. But when you hit the ground coming off a horse at 70 kilometers per hour, you can pretty much tell it's going to kill. Jump jockeys can be expected to fall 1 out of every 13 races. At the Warrnambool Steeplechase Carnival, there was a violent crash. The commentator blamed the jockey, while the jockey said the horse chickened out. Both horse and rider escaped death narrowly, while the jockey broke his collarbone, 2 fingers, and a femur. But this never would have happened if there wasn't a jump in the way. This isn't on. There shouldn't be a blame game being made, because the real blame lays on the jumps racing industry. In 2011, there were 861 serious injuries and 5 deaths of jockeys. There shouldn't be any injuries or deaths, because the sport shouldn't even be running. One could say, what about flat racing? It's dangerous too, and they would be right. But the difference is these horses are more likely to hurt themselves because of the vast heights they need to jump. Jumps racing is much harder than running on flat ground. The horse and rider must negotiate each jump accordingly. It could also be said that if the jumps racing industry is banned, doesn't that mean less jobs, less money, and lots of homeless horses? This point has been stated so many times. The great thing about horses is they will adapt and can be rehomed through many programs such as the RSPCA. The jobs, of course, is a big issue, but the horse industry doesn't just stop at racing. It spreads into so many different areas that I just can't mention them. And of course, the money issue. But wouldn't it be saving us money because not as much is being pumped into it? As can be seen across the board, horse and rider welfare is so much important, and the change of rules has had a huge impact on the jumps racing world. Steeplechase should have been banned, and one day it will, but not without support. I'm going to leave you with a quote from a horse racing journalist, Patrick McDonald. You don't go to the races of Morphettville on Saturday and expect a horse to fall over in a race. It happens occasionally, but not often. But when you go to a steeplechase, you're just waiting for it to happen. You're expecting it to happen. And this is what I find particularly galling about the whole thing. Thank you all for listening.